The Sibylline Oracles, Book 4. People of boastful Asia and Europe, give ear to the unfailing truths that I'm about to prophesy through my honey-voiced mouth from our shrine. I am not an oracle monger of false Phoebus, whom vain men call a god and falsely described as a seer, but of the great God, whom no hands of men fashioned in the likeness of speechless idols of polished stone. For he does not have a house, a stone set up as a temple, dumb and toothless, a bane which brings many woes to men, but one which is not possible to see from earth, no measure with mortal eyes, since it was not fashioned by mortal hand. He sees all at once, but is seen by no one himself. Dark night is his, and day, sun, stars, moon, and fish-filled seas, and land and rivers and source of perennial springs, things created for life, also showers which engender the fruit of the soil, and trees, both vine and olive. He it is who drove a whip through my heart within to narrate accurately to men what now is, and what will yet be, from the first generation until the 10th comes. For he himself will prove everything by accomplishing it. But you people, listen to the Sibyl in all things, as she pours forth true speech from her holy mouth. Happy will be those of mankind on earth who will love the great God, blessing him before drinking and eating, putting their trust in piety. They will reject all temples when they see them, altars too, unless foundations of dumb stones and stone statues and handmade images, defiled with blood of animate creatures and sacrifices of four-footed animals. They will look to the great glory of the one God and commit no wicked murder, no deal in dishonest gain, which are most horrible things. Neither have they disgraceful desire for another's spouse, or for hateful and repulsive abuse of a male. Other men will never imitate their way, or piety, or customs, because they desire shamelessness. On the contrary, they deride them with mockery and laughter. Infantile in their foolishness, they will falsely attribute to those what wicked and evil deeds they themselves commit. For the entire race of men is slow of faith, but when the judgment of the world and of mortals has already come, which God himself will perform, judging impious and pious at once, then he will also send the impious down into the gloom in fire, and then they will realize what impiety they've committed. But the pious will remain on the fertile soil, and God will give them spirit and life and favor at once, and all these things will be accomplished in the 10th generation. But now, the things which will happen from the first generation, these will I say. First, the Assyrians will rule over all mortals, holding the world in their dominion for 6 generations, from the time when the heavenly God was in wrath with the cities themselves and all men, and the seas covered the earth when the flood burst forth. These will the Medes destroy and boast on their thrones. They will have only 2 generations. In their time the following things will take place. There will be a dark night in the mid-hour of day. The stars and the circles of the moon will disappear from heaven. The earth, shaken by the turmoil of a great earthquake, will cast down headlong many cities and works of men. Then islands will emerge from the depths of the sea. But when the great Euphrates is flooded with blood, then indeed a terrible din of battle will arise for the Medes and Persians in war. The Medes will fall under the spears of the Persians and flee over the great waters of the Tigris. The power of the Persians will be the greatest of the whole world. They are destined to have 1 generation of very prosperous rule. All evils which men pray to be spared will come to pass. Battles and murders, dissensions and exiles, headlong crashes of towers, and overthrow of cities, when boastful Greece sails to the wide Hellespont, bringing grievous doom to the Phrygians in Asia. Further, famine and failure of crops will visit much furrowed wheat-bearing Egypt for a 20-year cycle, when the Nile, which nourishes corn, hides its dark water somewhere else under the earth. A king will come from Asia, brandishing a great spear with countless ships. He will walk the watery paths of the deep and will cut through a lofty mountain as he sails. Him will wretched Asia receive as a fugitive from war, when the flame of Etna belches forth a stream of great fire. It will burn all miserable Sicily. And the great city Croton will fall into the deep stream. There will be strife in Greece, raging against each other. They will cast many cities down headlong and will destroy many men by fighting. But the strife will have equal effect on all parties. But when the race of men comes to the 10th generation, then there will also be yokes of slavery and terror for the Persians. But when the Macedonians boast of scepters thereafter, there will also be dire capture for Thebes. The Carians will inhabit Tyre, and the Tyrans will perish. Sand will cover all Samos and the beaches. Delos will no longer be visible, and all the affairs of Delos will be inconspicuous. Babylon, great in appearance but insignificant in battle, will stand built on useless hopes. Macedonians will colonize Bactria, but the people of Bactria and Susa will all flee to the land of Greece. It will come to pass in future generations that Paramus of the silver current, pouring forward its shoreline, will reach the sacred island, and you, Baris, will fall. And Ciscius, when cities slide, as the earth is shaken by earthquakes. Upon the Rhodians, too, a final but greatest disaster will come. Nor will the power of Macedonia survive, but from the west a great Italian war will bloom, under which the world will serve, bearing the yoke of slavery for the Italians. You also, miserable Corinth, will one day behold your capture. Carthage, your tower, will also bend the knee to the ground. Wretched Laodicea, at some time an earthquake will throw you headlong and spread you flat, but you will be founded again as a city and stand. Beautiful Myra of Lycia, the shuddering earth will no longer support you, but falling down headlong on the earth, you will pray to flee to another land as an exile, when the Lord spreads out the dark water of the sea with thunderings and earthquakes because of the impieties of Patara, Armenia. The compulsion of slavery awaits you also. An evil storm of war will also come upon Jerusalem from Italy. It will sack the great temple of God. Whenever they put their trust in folly and cast off piety and commit repulsive murders in front of the temple, then a great king will flee from Italy like a runaway slave, unseen and heard over the channel of the Euphrates, when he dares to incur a maternal curse for repulsive murder and many other things, confidently with wicked hand. When he runs away beyond the Parthian land, many will bloody the ground for the throne of Rome. A leader of Rome will come from Syria, who will burn the temple of Jerusalem with fire, and at the same time slaughter many men and destroy the great land of the Jews with its broad roads. Then indeed an earthquake will destroy at once Salamis and Paphos, when the dark water overwhelms Cyprus, which is washed by many waves. But when a firebrand, turned away from a cleft in the earth in the land of Italy, reaches to broad heaven, it will burn many cities and destroy men. Much smoking ashes will fill the great sky, and showers will fall from heaven like red earth. Know then the wrath of the heavenly God, because they will destroy the blameless tribe of the pious. Then the strife of war being aroused will come to the west, and the fugitive from Rome will also come, brandishing a great spear, having crossed the Euphrates with many myriads. Wretched Antioch! They will no longer call you a city, when you fall under spears by your own folly, and then pestilence and terrible din of battle will destroy Cyprus. Woe to miserable Cyprus! A broad wave of the sea will cover you when you have been tossed up by wintry blasts. Great wealth will come to Asia, which Rome itself once plundered and deposited in her house of many possessions. She will then pay back twice as much and more to Asia. And then there will be a surfeit of war. A bitter famine will destroy the cities of the Carians, which are very beautiful, turreted by the waters of the Meander, whenever the Meander hides its dark water. But when faith and piety perishes from among men, and justice is hidden in the world, untrustworthy men living for unholy deeds will commit outrage, wicked and evil deeds. No one will take account of the pious, but they will even destroy them all by foolishness. Very infantile people, rejoicing in outrages and applying their hands to blood. Even then, know that God is no longer benign, but gnashing his teeth in wrath and destroying the entire race of men at once by a great conflagration. Oh, wretched mortals, change these things and do not lead the great God to all sorts of anger, but abandon daggers and groanings, murders and outrages, and wash your whole bodies in perennial rivers. Stretch out your hands to heaven and ask forgiveness for your previous deeds and make propitiation for bitter impiety with words of praise. God will grant repentance and will not destroy. He will stop his wrath again if you all practice honorable piety in your heart. But if you do not obey me, evil-minded ones, but love impiety and receive all these things with evil ears, there will be fire throughout the whole world, and a very great sign with sword and trumpet at the rising of the sun. The whole world will hear a bellowing noise, a mighty sound. He will burn the whole earth and will destroy the whole race of men and all cities and rivers at once, and the sea. He will destroy everything by fire, and it will be smoking dust. But when everything is already dusty ashes, and God puts to sleep the unspeakable fire, even as he kindled it, God himself will again fashion the bones and ashes of men, and he will raise up mortals again as they were before. And then there will be a judgment over which God himself will preside, judging the world again. As many as sin by impiety, these will a mound of earth cover, the broad Tartarus and the repulsive recesses of Gehenna. But as many are pious, they will live on earth again, when God gives spirit and life and favor to these pious ones. And then they will all see themselves beholding the delightful and pleasant light of the sun. Oh, most blessed, whatever man will live to that time. The Sibylline Oracles, Book 5. But come, hear my woeful history of the Latin race. First of all, indeed, after the death of the kings of Egypt, all of whom the even-handed earth took under, and after the citizen of Pella, to whom all the east and prosperous west were subjected, whom Babylon tested and held out as a corpse to Philip, alleged, not truly to be descended from Zeus or Ammon, and after the one of the race and the blood of Ascarakis, who came from Troy, who split the onslaught of fire, and after many princes, after warlike people, and after infants, children of the flock-devouring beast, there will be the first prince, who will sum up twice 10 with his initial letter. He will conquer long in wars. He will have his first letter of 10, so that after him will reign whoever obtained as initial the first of the alphabet. Thrace will crouch before him, and Sicily, then Memphis. Memphis cast down headlong through the wickedness of its leaders and of an indomitable woman who fell upon the wave. He will give laws to the peoples and subordinate all things. After a long time, he will hand over sovereignty to another, who will present a first letter of 300, and the beloved name of a river. He will rule over Persians and Babylon. He will indeed then conquer the Medes with the spear. Then whoever obtained an initial of 3 will rule. Next, A prince who will have twice 10 on his first ladder, but he will reach the farthest waters of Oceanus, cleaving the tide under the Ausonians. One who has 50 as an initial will be commander. A terrible snake, breathing out grievous war, who one day will lay hands on his own family and slay them and throw everything into confusion. Athlete, charioteer, murderer, one who dares 10,000 things. He will also cut the mountain between two seeds and defile it with gore. But even when he disappears, he will be destructive, and then he will return declaring himself equal to God. But he will prove that he is not. 3 princes after him will perish at each other's hands. Then will come a certain great destroyer of pious men, who shows a clear initial of 7 times 10. His son, with the first initial of 300, will get the better of him and take away his power. After him will be a commander with an initial of 4, a cursed man, but then a revered man of the number 50 after him, one who obtained a marked initial of 300, a Celtic mountaineer hastening to an eastern war. He will not avoid an unseemly fate, but will die. Foreign dust will cover him, a corpse, but dust which has the name of the Nemean flower. After him another will reign, a silver-headed man. He will have the name of a sea. He will also be a most excellent man, and he will consider everything. And in your time, most excellent, outstanding, dark-haired one, and in the days of your descendants, all these days will come to pass. After him 3 will rule, but the third will come to power late in life. Thrice wretched one, I am weary of putting an utterance of disaster in my heart, and the inspired chants of oracles, I, who am the familiar friend of Isis. First, indeed, around the steps of your much-lamented people, Maenads will dart, and you will be in bad hands. On that day, when the Nile traverses the whole land of Egypt up to 16 cubits, so as to flood the whole land and drench it with streams, the beauty of the land and the glory of its appearance will disappear. Memphis, you indeed will weep most of all over Egypt, for formerly you were the one who mightily ruled the land, wretched one, so that even he who rejoices in thunder will cry out from heaven with a great voice, Mighty Memphis, who formerly boasted most to wretched mortals, you will weep in dire straits and disastrous fate, so that the eternal immortal God will notice you in the clouds. Where is your sturdy spirit among men? Because you raged against my children, who are anointed by God, and incited evil against good men. You, in return, have such a nurse for recompense. You will no longer have any right openly among the blessed. You have fallen from the stars. You will not go up to heaven. These things God bade me declare to Egypt in the final time, when men will be utterly evil, but the wicked endure evil. Awaiting the anger of the immortal, deep-sounding Heavenly One, they worship stones and brute beasts instead of God, revering many things, one here, another there, which have no reason, or mind, or hearing, and things which is not even lawful for me to mention. The particular types of idols brought into being by the hands of mortals, from their own labors and wicked notions, men have accepted gods of wood and stone. They have made them of bronze and gold and silver, vain, lifeless, dumb, smelted in fire, vainly putting their trust in these. Thmois and Zeus are oppressed. The counsels of Heracles, Zeus, and Hermes is cut off. And you, Alexandria, famous nurse of cities, woe will not leave you. You will make retribution for pride, the things you formerly did. You will be silent for a long age, and the day of your return, and the luxurious drink will no longer flow for you. For the Persians will come onto your soil like hail, and he will destroy your land, and evil-devising men with blood and corpses by terrible altars, a savage-minded mighty man, much bloodied, raving nonsense, with a full host, numerous as sand, bringing destruction on you. And then, most prosperous of cities, you will be in great distress. All Asia falling to the ground will lament for the gifts she enjoyed from you when she wore a crown on her head. But the one who obtained the land of the Persians will fight, and killing every man, he will destroy all life, so that a 1/3 portion will remain for wretched mortals. He himself will rush in with a light bound from the west, besieging the entire land, laying it all waste. But when he attains a formidable height and unseemly daring, he will also come, wishing to destroy the city of the blessed ones, and then a certain king, sent from God against him, will destroy all the great kings and noble men. Thus there will be judgment on men by the imperishable one. Alas for you, wretched heart! Why do you provoke me? To show these things to Egypt, a grievous multiplicity of sovereignty. Go to the east, to the mindless tribes of the Persians, and show them what now is and what will be. The current of the river Euphrates will bring on a flood and will destroy Persians, Iberians, and Babylonians, and Massagetae, who love war and trust in bows. All Asia will blaze, burnt with fire as far as the islands. Pergamos, which was formerly revered, will perish like a bunch of grapes. Pitane will appear totally desolate among men. All Lesbos will sink in the deep abyss so as to perish. Smyrna will one day weep, rolled down to the cliffs. She, who was once revered and famous, will perish. Bithynians will bewail her land, reduced to ashes, and great Syria, and Phoenicia, of many tribes. Woe to you, Lycia! How many evils the sea devises against you, spontaneously encroaching on the grievous land, so that it will flood with the bad earthquake and bitter streams the watery shore of Lycia, which was once breathed perfume. A terrible wrath will come upon Phrygia, because of the pain of which Rhea, mother of Zeus, came and remained there. The sea will destroy the race and savage people of the Tauri, and will destroy the plain of the Lapiths, and break it off down from the earth. A deep eddying river, deep flowing, Peneus, will destroy the land of Thessaly, chasing men from the land. Eridanus, which claims to have once begotten forms of wild beasts. The poets will bewail thrice wretched Greece, when a great king of that Rome, a godlike man from Italy, will cut the ridge of the isthmus. Him, they say, Zeus himself begot, and Lady Hera, playing at theatricals with honey-sweet songs rendered with melodious voice, he will destroy many men, and his wretched mother. He will flee from Babylon, a terrible and shameless prince whom all mortals and noble men despise, for he destroyed many men and laid hands on the womb. He sinned against spouses. It was sprung from the abominable people. He will come to the Medes and to the kings of the Persians, those whom he first desired and to whom he gave glory, lurking with these evil ones against a true people. He seized the divinely built temple and burnt the citizens and peoples who went into it, men whom I rightly praised. For on his appearance the whole creation was shaken, and kings perished, and those in whom the sovereignty remained destroyed a great city and righteous people. But when, after the 4th year, a great star shines, which alone will destroy the whole earth, because of the honor which they first give to Poseidon of the sea, a great star will come from heaven to the wondrous sea, and will burn the deep sea and Babylon itself, and the land of Italy, because of which many holy, faithful Hebrews and true people perished. You will be among evil mortals, suffering evils, but you will remain utterly desolate for all ages yet. It will exist, but it will remain utterly desolate forever, despising your soil because you desired sorcery. With you are found adulteries, illicit intercourses with boys, effeminate and unjust, evil city, ill-fated above all. Alas, city of the Latin land, unclean in all things. Maynard, rejoicing in vipers, as a widow you will sit by the banks, and the river Tiber will weep for you, its consort. You have a murderous heart and an impious spirit. Did you not know what God can do, what he devises? But you said, I alone am. No one will ravage me. But now God, who is forever, will destroy you and all your peoples, and there will no longer be any sign of you in that land, as there was formerly. When the great God found your honors, remain alone, lawless one, mingled with burning fire. Inhabit the lawless nether region of Hades. Now again, Egypt, I will bewail your fate. Memphis, you will be leader of labors, smitten on the ankles. In you the pyramids will utter a shameless sound. Python, rightly called double city of old, be silent forever so that you may desist from wickedness. Arrogance, treasury of evil labors. Maynard, of many laments. Dire sufferer, tearful one, you will remain a widow forever. For many years you alone were ruler of the world. But when Barca puts on a white skirt over a dirty one, may I neither be nor come into being. O Thebes, where is your great strength? A savage man will destroy your people, but you will take grey garments and lament. Wretched one, alone, and will make retribution for everything which you did before, having a shameless spirit. They will see lamentation because of lawless deeds. A great man of the Ethiopians will destroy Sini. Dark-skinned Indians will occupy Techuria, by force, Pentapolis. You will weep. But a very mighty man will destroy you, much lamented Libya, who will narrate your doom. Cyrene, who of men will weep piteously for you. You will not desist from hideous lamentations until the time of destruction. Among the Britons and wealthy Gauls, the ocean will be resounding, filled with much blood. For they also did evil to the children of God when the Purple King led a great Gallic host from Syria against the Sidonians. He will also kill you, Ravenna, and lead you to slaughter. Indians have no courage, and great-spirited Ethiopians, for when the wheel of arched Axis, Capricorn, and Taurus amid Gemini revolves in the mid-heaven, Virgo coming forth, and the sun, fixing a belt all about its brow, shall lead. There will be a greatly heavenly conflagration on earth, and from the battling stars a new nature will emerge, so that the whole land of the Ethiopians will perish in fire and groanings. You too, Corinth, bewail the mournful destruction within you. For when the three sister fates, spinning with twisted threads, lead the one who is now fleeing deceitfully beyond the bank of the isthmus on high, so that all may see him, who formerly cut out the rock with ductile bronze, he will destroy and ravage your land also, as is decreed. For to him God gives strength to perform things like no previous one of all the kings. For first of all, cutting off the roots from 3 heads mightily with a blow, he will give them to others to eat, so that they will eat the flesh of the parents of the impious king. For murder and terrors are in store for all men, because of the great city and righteous people, which is preserved throughout everything, which providence held in a special place. Arrogance, unstable one of evil counsel, surrounded by evil fates, beginning and great end of toil for men, when creation is damaged and saved again by the fates. Leader of evils and great affliction to men, which of mortals desired you, who did not resent you within. But you, a certain king, cast down, destroyed his revered life. You arranged all things badly, and brought on a full flood of evil, and through you the beautiful folds of the world were changed. Put forward these causes for our strife. Perhaps they are the last. How and what do you say? I will persuade you, and even if I blame you somewhat, I will speak. There was once among men a shining light of the sun, when the harmonious ray of the prophets was being spread abroad. A tongue dripped a beautiful drink for all mortals with honeyed sweetness. It made manifest, offered and effected gentle things for all. Therefore, narrow-minded leader of greatest evils, the reaping hook and grief will come in that day, beginning and great end of toil for men, when creation is damaged and saved again by the fates. Give ear to the bitter, harsh-sounding speech, you affliction to men. But whenever the Persian land desists from war, pestilence and groanings, then on that day it will come to pass that the divine and heavenly race of the blessed Jews, who live around the city of God in the middle of the earth, are raised up even to the dark clouds, having built a great wall around about as far as Joppa. No longer will trumpet whistle the sound of war, no longer will they perish at raging hostile hands, but they will set up trophies won from the wicked forever. There will again be one exceptional man from the sky who stretched out his hands on the fruitful wood, the best of the Hebrews, who will one day cause the sun to stand, speaking with fair speech and holy lips. Blessed one, no longer weary your spirit in your breast. Divinely born, wealthy, soul-desired flower, good light, holy shoot, beloved plant, delightful Judea, fair city, inspired with hymns, no longer will the unclean foot of Greeks revel around your land, but they will have a mind in their breasts that conforms to your laws. But glorious children will honor you exceedingly, and they will attend table with devout music, all sorts of sacrifices, and with prayers honoring God. Such righteous men as endured toils will receive greater pleasant things in exchange for a little distress. But the wicked, who dispatched lawless utterances against heaven, will desist from speaking against each other, but will hide themselves until the world is changed. There will be a shower of blazing fire from the clouds, and mortals will no longer enjoy bright corn from the earth. All will remain unsown, unplowed, until mortal men pay attention to the immortal, eternal God, ruler of all, and no longer honor mortal things, neither dogs nor vultures, which Egypt taught men to revere with vain mouths and foolish lips. But the holy land of the pious alone will bear all these things, a honey-sweet stream from the rock and spring, and heavenly milk will flow for all the righteous, and for with great piety and faith they will put their hope in the one begetter, God, who alone is eminent. But why does my clever mind suggest these things to me? Now, wretched Asia, I bewail you piteously, the race of the Ionians, Carians, Lydians, rich in gold. Woe to you, Sardis! Woe, lovely Tralles! Woe, Laodicea, beautiful city! How you will perish, destroyed by earthquakes and changed to dust. To dark Asia, the well-built shrine of Artemis of Ephesus, with cleavings and earthquakes, will fall to the wondrous sea headlong, as storm winds overwhelm ships. Ephesus, supine, will wail, weeping on the shores, seeking the temple which no longer there. And then the imperishable God, who dwells in the sky in anger, will cast a lightning bolt from heaven against the power of the impious. Instead of winter, there will be summer on that day, and then indeed there will be great affliction for mortal men. For the one who thunders on high will destroy all shameless men with thunders and lightnings and blazing thunderbolts on hostile men, and he will destroy the impious in such a manner that corpses will remain on earth more numerous than sand. Smyrna also will come, bewailing its musicians, to the gates of Ephesus, and she herself will truly perish. Foolish Kyme, with her divinely inspired streams, cast down at the hands of godless, unjust, and lawless men, will no longer take her chariot forward to such a height, but will remain a corpse in swelling streams. And then they will cry out at once, awaiting evil. The difficult people and shameless tribes of the Cumaeans will have a sign and know because of what it labored. Then, when they bewail a wicked land reduced to ashes, Lesbos will be destroyed forever by Eridanus. Woe to you, Cabiria, fair city, desist from revelry. Hierapolis also, the only land which is mingled with Pluton. You will have what you have desired to have, a land of many tears, piling a mound on the earth by the streams of Thermodon, rock-clinging Tripolis by the waters of Damiander, a portion to nightly waves on the shore, and providence of God will one day destroy you utterly. May I never willingly take the land which is neighbors to Phoebus. A lightning bolt from above will one day destroy luxurious Miletus, because it chose the deceitful strain of Phoebus and the clever practice of men and prudent counsel. Be gracious, begetter of all, to the fertile, luxurious great land of Judea, so that we may behold your plans, for you knew this one first, God, with favors, so that she seemed to be your special gift to all men, and to attend as God enjoined. Thrice wretched one, I desired to see the affairs of the Thracians, and the wall between two seas swept down in the dust by Ares, sweeping like a river on a fishing diver. Wretched Hellespont, one day the offsprings of the Assyrians will put a yoke on you. The battle of the Thracians against you will utterly destroy your mighty strength. An Egyptian king seizes Macedonia, a foreign region, will cast down the strength of leaders. Lydians and Galatians, Pamphylians and Pisidians en masse will conquer, armed in evil strife. Thrice wretched Italy, all desolate and wept, you will await a destructive beast in a looming land, to be destroyed. It will be possible to hear a heavenly crash of thunder, the voice of God throughout the broad heavens above. The imperishable flames of the sun itself will no longer be, nor will the shining light of the moon be any more, in the last time, when God assumes command. Everything will be blackened. There will be darkness throughout the earth, and blind men, evil wild beasts, and woe. That day will last a long time, so that men will take note of God himself, the prince who oversees all from heaven. Then he will not pity hostile men, who sacrifice herds of lambs and sheep and loud bellowing bulls and great golden horn calves to lifeless Hermes and gods of stone. But let law, wisdom, and glory rule over the righteous, lest one day the imperishable God in anger destroy the livelihood of men with every race and a shameless tribe. It is necessary to love God, the wise, eternal begetter. There will come to pass in that last time, about the waning of the moon, a war which will throw the world into confusion and be deceptive in guile. A man who is a matricide will come from the ends of the earth in flight and devising penetrating schemes in his mind. He will destroy every land, conquer all, and consider all these things more wisely than all men. He will immediately seize the one because of whom he himself perished. He will destroy many men and great rulers. And he will set fire to all men as no one else ever did. Through zeal he will raise up those who were crouched in fear. There will come upon men a great war from the west. Blood will flow up to the bank of deep eddying rivers. Wrath will drip in the plains of Macedonia, an alliance to the people from the west, but destruction for the king. Then a wintry blast will blow throughout the land, and the plain will be filled again with evil war. For fire will rain on men from the floors of heaven, fire and blood, water, lightning bolts, darkness, heavenly night, and destruction in war, and a mist over the slain will destroy at once all kings and noble men. Then the piteous destruction of war will cease thus, and no longer will anyone fight with swords or iron or with weapons at all, which will no longer be lawful. A wise people which is left will have peace, having experienced evil so that it might later rejoice. Matricides, desist from boldness and evil daring, you who formerly impiously catered for pedastry, and set up in houses prostitutes who were pure before, with insults and punishments and toilsome disgrace. For in you mother had intercourse with child unlawfully, and daughter was joined with her begetter as bride. In you also kings defile the ill-fated mouths. In you also evil men practiced bestiality. Be silent, most lamentable evil city which indulges in revelry. No longer in you will virgin maidens tend the divine fire of sacred, nourishing wood. The desired temple has long ago been extinguished by you. When I saw the second temple cast headlong, soaked in fire by an impious hand, the ever-flourishing, watchful temple of God, made holy by people and hoped by their soul and body to be always imperishable, for among them no one carelessly prays to God or insignificant clay, nor did a clever sculptor make one from rock, nor worship ornament of gold, a deception of souls. But they honored the great God, begetter of all, who have God-given breath, with holy sacrifices and hectic tombs. But now a certain insignificant and impious king has gone up, cast it down, and left it in ruins with a great horde and illustrious men. He himself perished at immortal hands when he left the land, and no sign has yet been performed among men that others should think to sack a great city. For a blessed man came from the expanses of heaven, with a scepter in his hands, which God gave him, and he gained sway over all things as well, and gave back the wealth to all the good which previous men had taken. He destroyed every city from its foundations with much fire, and burnt nations of mortals who were formerly evildoers. And the city which God desired, this he made more brilliant than stars and sun and moon, and he provided ornament and made a holy temple exceedingly beautiful in its fair shrine, and he fashioned a great and immense tower over many stadia, touching even the clouds and visible to all, so that all faithful and all righteous people could see the glory of eternal God, a form desired. East and west sang out the glory of God, for terrible things no longer happen to wretched mortals. No adulteries or illicit love of boys, no murder, no din or battle, but competition is fair amongst all. It is the last time of holy people, when God, who thunders on high, founder of the greatest temple, accomplishes these things. Woe to you, Babylon, of golden throne, golden sandal! For many years you were the sole kingdom ruling over the world. You, who were formerly great and universal, you will no longer lie on golden mountains and streams of the Euphrates. You will be spread out flat by the turmoil of an earthquake. Terrible Parthenian, it made you shake all over. Restrain your mouth with a bridle, impious race of Babylonians. Neither ask nor take thought how you will rule over the Persians, or how you will hold sway over the Medes. Because of your dominion which you had, you will send to Rome hostages, even those who were in bondage to Asia. So also, though thinking as a queen, you will come under the judgment of your adversaries, on whose account you sent ransom. You will pay a bitter reckoning to your enemies in return for your crooked words. In the last time, one day the sea will be dry. The ships will then no longer sail to Italy. Great Asia then will be a water, bearing all cargo, and Crete a plain. Cyprus will have great affliction, and Paphos will bewail a terrible fate, so that even the great city of Salamis, suffering a great affliction, will notice it. Now there will again be barren dry land on the shore. A not inconsiderable swarm of locusts will destroy the land of Cyprus. Ill-fated men, you will weep when you look towards Tyre. Phoenicia, terrible wrath awaits you until you fall, a bad fall, so that the Syrenes may truly weep. It will come to pass in the 5th generation, when the destruction of Egypt ceases, when the shameless kings intermingle. The clans of the Pamphylians will settle in Egypt and in Macedonia and in Asia, and among the Lycians there will be a bloody war, throwing the world into confusion in dust, which a king of Rome and the potentates of the West will stop. Whenever a wintry blast dips the snow, when a great river and the biggest lakes are frozen over, immediately a barbarian throng will march to the land of Asia and will destroy the race of the terrible Thracians as if it were weak. Then desperate men, weakened by famine, will devour their parents, gulp them down as food. Wild beasts will devour the table from all dwellings. Even birds will devour all mortals, and bloody ocean will be filled with flesh and blood of the senseless from evil war. There will be such weakness on earth that it will be possible to know the number of men and count of women. A wretched generation will groan 10,000-fold at the end, when the sun is setting, so that it never rises again, remaining to be plunged in the waters of the ocean, for it saw the impious wickedness of many men. There will be moonless night around the great heaven itself. No small mist will cover the folds of the world about a second time, but then the light of God will lead the good men, as many as sang out the praise of God. Isis, thrice wretched goddess, you will remain by the streams of the Nile, alone, a speechless Maenad on the sands of the Acheron. No longer will memory of you remain throughout the whole earth. And you, Sarapis, reposing on many unwrought stones, will lie a very great casualty in thrice wretched Egypt. But as many as brought the desire of Egypt to you will all bewail you bitterly, turning their attention to the imperishable God. Those who sang out your praises as a god will know that you are nothing. Then a man clad in linen, one of the priests, will say, "Come, let us erect a sanctuary of the true God. Come, let us change the terrible custom we have received from our ancestors, on account of which they performed processions and rites to gods of stone and earthenware, and were devoid of sense. Let us turn our souls, singing out the praises of the imperishable God himself, the begetter who is eternal, the ruler of all, the true one, the King, the begetter who nourishes souls, the great eternal God." Then there will be a great holy temple in Egypt, and a people fashioned by God will bring sacrifices to it, and to them the imperishable God will grant to reside there. But when the Ethiopians leave the shameless tribes of the Tribali and are about to till the land of Egypt, they will launch on a course of wickedness, so that all the latter things will come to pass. For they will destroy the great temple of the land of Egypt. God will rain on them a terrible wrath down on earth, so as to destroy all the wicked and all the lawless. There will no longer be any sparing in that land, because they did not guard what God entrusted to them. I saw the threat of the burning sun among the stars, and the terrible wrath of the moon amongst lightning flashes. The stars travailed in battle. God bade them fight. For over against the sun long flames were in strife, and the two-horned rush of the moon was changed. Lucifer fought, mounted on the back of Leo. Capricorn smote the ankle of the young Taurus, and Taurus deprived Capricorn of his day of return. Orion removed Libra, so that it remained no more. Virgo changed the destiny of Gemini in Aries. The Pleiad no longer appeared, and Draco rejected its belt. Pisces submerged themselves, and the girdle of Leo, Cancer, did not stand its ground, for it feared Orion. Scorpio got under the tail because of terrible Leo, and the dog star perished by the flame of the sun. The strength of the mighty day star burned up Aquarius. Heaven itself was roused until it shook the fighters. In anger it cast them headlong to the earth. Accordingly, stricken into the baths of the ocean, they quickly kindled the whole earth, but the sky remained starless. The Sibylline Oracles, Book 6. I speak from my heart of the great famous Son of the Immortal, to whom the Most High, his begetter, gave a throne to possess before he was born, since he was raised up the second time according to the flesh, when he had washed in the streams of the river Jordan, which moves with gleaming foot, sweeping the waves. He will escape the fire and be the first to see delightful God coming in the Spirit on the white wings of a dove. A pure flower will bloom, fountains will burst forth. He will show ways to men, he will show heavenly paths, he will teach all with wise words. He will come to judgment and persuade a disobedient people, boasting praiseworthy descent from the Heavenly Father. He will walk the waves, he will undo the sicknesses of men, he will raise the dead, he will repel many woes. From one wallet men will have surfeit of bread, when the house of David brings forth a shoot. In his hand are the whole world and earth and heaven and sea, and he will flash like lightning on the earth, as the two begotten from each other's sides once saw him when he first shone forth. It will come to pass, when the earth rejoices in the hope of a child, for you alone, land of Sodom, evil afflictions are in store. For with your hostile mind you did not perceive your God when he came before mortal eyes. But you crowned him with a crown from the thorn bush. And you mix terrible gall for insult and drink, that will cause great affliction for you. O wood, O most blessed, on which God has stretched out, earth will not contain you, but you will see heaven as home when your fiery eye, O God, flashes like lightning. O roads, you wretched one, for you first I weep. You are first of cities, but you will perish first. Widowed of men, completely failing to gain a livelihood. Delos, you will swim and be unstable on the water. Cyprus, one day the wave of the gleaming sea will destroy you. Sicily, the fire that flares beneath you will burn you up. And this I say, the terrible and strange water of God. A certain Noah came, a solitary fugitive from all men. Earth will swim, mountains will swim, even the sky will swim. All will be water, and all things will perish in waters. Winds will stop, and there will be a second age. O Phrygia, you will shine forth first from the surface of the water, but you, the same first to impiety, will reject God, pleasing to speechless idols, which will destroy you, wretched one, as many years pursue this cyclical course. The unfortunate Ethiopians, also suffering piteous woes, will be smitten with swords under the skin as they crouch in fear. Civil strife amongst themselves will destroy sleek Egypt, always concerned with corn blades, which the Nile saturates with 7 swimming streams. Thence, unexpectedly, men will drive out Apis, who is not a god to men. Alas, Laodicea, daring one, you will speak falsehood. You have never seen God. The wave of Lycus will dash over you. The great God himself, the begetter, will make many stars, and will hang an axis through the middle of the sky, and set up a great terror for men to behold on high, an immense pillar with great fire, from which drops will destroy the evil race of men who have done harm. For one day that time will come to pass when once for all men will beseech God, but will not stop fruitless troubles. But all will be fulfilled through the house of David, for God entrusted and gave a throne to him. The angels will sleep under his feet, those who cause fires to gleam, and those who pour forth rivers, those who protect cities, and those who send out storm winds. A difficult life will come upon many men, entering souls and changing hearts of men. But when a young shoot puts forth eyes from the root, which once distributed abundant nurture to all branches, these things will further be in time. But when others rule over the tribe of warlike Persians, then there will be terrible weddings of brides because of lawless tribes. For mother will have her own son also as husband. Sons will have intercourse with mother. Daughter, reclining on father, will sleep according to this savage custom. Later, a Roman Ares will shine out on them from many a lance. They will mix much earth with human blood. A prince of Italy will then flee from the might of the spear. They will leave on the ground a flower engraved with gold, which always bears an holy sign when it goes forth. It will come to pass when Ilias, all evil and ill-fated, piteously drinks deep, not marriage, but the tomb. And then brides will weep deeply because they did not take thought of God, but always made noise with cymbals and rattling sounds. Prophesy, Colophon, a great terrible fire hangs over you. Ill-wedded Thessaly, the earth will no longer see you, even as ashes, but you will sail alone, a fugitive from the mainland. Thus, O wretched one, you will be the mournful refuse of war, or one who falls to dogs and rivers and swords. O wretched Corinth, you will receive grievous war about yourself. Miserable one, and you will perish at each other's hands. Tyre, you alone will receive so great a fate, for you will excel in small-mindedness, bereft of pious men. Cole Syria, last possession of the Phoenician men, on whom the brine of Beirut lies belched up. Wretched one, you did not recognize your God, whom once Jordan washed in its streams, and the Spirit flew like a dove. He, before either earth or starry heaven, was sovereign word, with the Father and the Holy Spirit. He put on flesh, but quickly flew to his Father's home. Great heaven established 3 towers for him, in which the noble mothers of God now live. Hope and piety and desirable holiness they do not reject in gold or silver, but in reverential acts of men, sacrifices and most righteous thoughts. You shall sacrifice to the immortal great noble God, not by melting a lump of incense in fire or striking a shaggy ram with a sacrificial knife, but with all who bear your blood, by taking a wild dove, praying and sending it off while gazing to heaven. You shall pour a libation of water on pure fire, crying out as follows: As the Father begot you, the Word, so I have dispatched a word which is swift reporter of words, sprinkling with holy waters your baptism, through which you were revealed out of fire. You shall not shut the door when some other stranger comes, begging you to ward off poverty and hunger, but take the head of this man, sprinkle it with water, and pray 3 times. Cry out to your God as follows: I do not desire wealth. I am poor. I have received a poor man. You, Father, provider, deign to listen to both. He will give to you when you pray. And thereafter a man led away. Do not afflict me. Sacred and righteous holiness of God, holy, indomitable, proved concerning the offspring. Father, check my wretched heart. I have looked to you the undefiled, whom no hands made. Sardinia, you who are powerful now will be changed to ashes. You will no longer be an island. When the 10th time comes, sailing on the waters, they will seek you who no longer exist. Kingfishers will wail a piteous lament over you. Rugged Macedonia, beacon of the sea, difficult of exit, you will boast for an age. You will perish through ages entirely with a hot wind. You will rage with many ills. Celtic land, Upon your mountain beyond the Alps, which are difficult to cross, deep sand will make a mound over you. Entirely you will no longer give tribute, corn or fodder. You will be desolate without people, forever frozen with icy crystals. You will make amends for the outrage, and pierce one which you had not noticed. Sturdy-spirited Rome, after the Macedonian spear, you will flash like lightning to Olympus. But God will make you utterly unknown when you will seem in appearance to remain much better established. And then I will cry out to you as follows. You who once gleamed brightly will lift your voice as you perish. Further, Rome, I will again utter further things to you. Now, you, wretched Syria, will I bewail piteously. Thebes of ill counsel and evil sound will come upon you with the voice of flutes. A trumpet will sound a bad sound for you. You will see the whole land perishing. Woe to you, wretched one! Woe, evil-spirited sea! You will all be devoured by fire, and you will destroy people with brine. For there will be as much fire raging on the earth as water, and it will flow and destroy the whole earth. It will burn up mountains, burn rivers, and empty springs. The world will be chaos when men perish. Then wretched men, burning badly, will look to heaven, void of stars, but overcome by fire. They will not be destroyed quickly, but being burnt in spirit by their perishing flesh for the years of ages. Forever they will know by dire tortures that it is not possible to deceive the law of God. The earth, under constraint, has perceived that whichever of the gods she dared to accept in falsehood on her altars was smoke, misty through the sky. But they will endure extreme toil, who, for gain, will prophesy base things, augmenting an evil time, who, putting on the shaggy hides of sheep, will falsely claim to be Hebrews, which is not their race. But speaking with words, making profit by woes, they will not change their life and will not persuade the righteous and those who propitiate God through the heart most faithfully. In the third lot of circling years of the first Ogdoad, another world is seen again. All will be night, long, unyielding, and then a terrible smell of brimstone will extend, announcing murders. When those men perish by night and famine, and then he will beget a pure mind of men and will set up your race as it was before you. No longer will anyone cut a deep furrow with a crooked plough. No oxen will plunge down the guiding iron. There will be no vine branches or ear of corn, but all at once will eat the dewy manna with white teeth. God will then be with them who will teach you, even as me, the sorrowful one. For what evils I formerly did knowingly, and I performed many other things badly through neglect. I have known innumerable beds, but no marriage concerned me. Utterly faithless, I imposed a savage oath on all. I shut out those in need, and going amongst those who go forth to a shady glen, I did not observe the oracle of God. Therefore fire has eaten and will devour me, for I myself will not live. But an evil time will destroy me, when men who pass by will fashion a tomb for me by the sea, and they will destroy me with stones. And when I was speaking to the Father, he communicated to me the dear Son. May you stone me, all of you, for thus will I live and fix my eyes on heaven.